I'm pretty sure hearing this is probably not much of a surprise, given some of the past things I've said on here, as well as the fact that I'm a horror artist, because I have this hunch that pretty much any, like, horror dedicated artist, or, like, heavily specialized artist in, like, the horror genre has some form of anxiety, or, like, either anxiety or, like, trust issues or something, because, like, horror, like, good horror writing and, like, arts oftentimes kind of requires the person, like, making it to have a deeper understanding of how, like, fear works in people's minds, or that how, at very least, how fear works for you specifically, and then just other people happen to sympathize with it. So, yeah. Yeah, so it comes as almost no surprise that I have a lot of anxiety in my tiny body. I am fragile like that of the Chihuahua. Yes. Woo, free door. So now I can move my furnaces onto the roof so I don't keep getting smoke in my house. I'll fix the hole in the wall in a little bit. Ta-da! You're still on fire? No, you're not. It's quiet out there. It's a little bit too quiet. Something's gonna happen. So, so I heard, I heard something interesting. I heard kind of a interesting tidbit about about rats like recently. Apparently, if like scientists make robotic rats, they're close enough seeming to actual rats that like real rats will actually go out of their way to perform altruism tasks with the robot rat, like releasing it from its containment and waiting to share food and stuff. Which some people might think is kind of like, oh, they're so stupid they don't know that's not a real rat. I think there's potential in the idea that maybe they know it's not a real rat, but they still feel for it. Kind of like people people getting like affectionate for like their Roombas or whatever, where they're like, oh yeah, here's some Cheerios, little guy. Like, there's an automatic trash can in our kitchen here, and like every so often I feed it trash, and like the lid opens and then it closes, and I'm like, good boy, because just the trash can's doing its job, and like the fucking Alexa. But yeah, it's just sometimes like I think it's the idea of like, I don't know, seeing the idea of use being correlated into being, like use, but like action or something, correlating into the idea of like some form of existence or entity. I'm not saying robots are sentient, but my point being is that like it kind of solidifies existence to prove that there is an action that can be done or something. So rats seeing this thing that looks vaguely like a rat doing different jobs, maybe they're seeing it and they're being like, that's not like me, but I think it's that's a guy, so might as well treat him like one. A little guy. He might not eat, drink, or do anything, but he zooms around and looks at things, and that's enough. Oh man, okay, so if anyone remembers like the what was it, the Zoom pets or whatever they were called, where it was like robotic hamsters, I have not really a story so much as a silly little thing, which is that I had to get like my hair, like a chunk of my hair cut off at one point because my sister threw one of those Zoom pets at me when I was sleeping and it got tangled in there. Which apparently this is something that has happened like often enough that there's been like, I think, a case against it or something. Maybe not. Maybe I'm misremembering that with like several of the other recalled toys from like those things. But point being is though that just, it got so tangled in the gears and there was no way to access the panels with the screws and stuff whilst it was like eating my hair that like we just had to cut it out. It's just you wouldn't think a robotic thing. Like, do you think rats would appreciate what do you think my pet rats at that time would have thought of it if they saw what that Zoomy did? Do you think they would hold an execution? It's like, you do not bite the hands of the food bringer. Something of note, I think like pregnancy makes rats get like a little bit mentally messed up, because like I've had a lot of rats over the years. Generally people do, but the only times I've ever gotten bitten by like one of my pet rats have been when like they're both a female and two pregnant or have had babies. Every other rat has been the sweetest things ever. So, like, yeah, so like it's just a strange thing. Like there have been times where like I've had to like, remove splinters or something that have gotten stuck on my rat's feet or whatever when I was a kid, and they didn't even bite me then. Like I've had to help them with like trimming their nails when they got a little bit too long. They didn't bite me. They didn't They didn't struggle too much. They knew I was just trying to help. Like, I gained a certain level of trust with them, but trust isn't enough when the rat is pregnant. Apparently. Like, there's some sort of missing factor there or something, but yeah, it's just... Like, I put my hand near the cage, and it runs up to the bars and gets me. Just God. I don't know what pregnancy does to them, but it's horrifying. Like, I don't blame them or anything, but it's still just one of those things where it's just like, why? Why are you like this? What kind of God made you this way? Like, I mean, I can understand being a small creature and scared of everything and having hormonal issues. That's an understandable thing, but it's still a thing of just being like, you poor thing. Like, you're so angry for no reason. Like, I love you very much, but you can't be like this. Like, I'm sorry, but you gotta chill out a bit, and then we could make an agreement, or else we're gonna have to, like, up your quarantine. You gotta, like, wear welder's gloves when you're reaching into the cage and whatever, because you just gotta clean it, and the rat's not letting you anywhere near them, even though, like, they were nice beforehand, but the instant they got pregnant, the hormones fucked them up. Like, it does something to their brains. Like, I don't know if there's a legitimate science thing behind that, or if I just managed to get a few rats that had neurological issues that were latent until pregnant. But, like, God. I mean, I love rats, don't get me wrong. It's just poor things. Like, this just messes them up. I guess it would be comparable to, I think it's kind of comparable to the instinct thing that happens with deer, like, around mating season, where, like, the males get extra aggressive. I think it's kind of like that. Like, it's understandable, and, like, I could see it having some sort of evolutionary advantage in, like, making everyone not want to go near you when you have babies, but, like, it's a little bit over the top. But, I mean, I'm not a rat, so I'm not really one to judge.